Welcome, Praetors. Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. And what you're about to watch is a discussion that I had with my very good friend Ned from Ineptus Astartes podcast, which is all about all things Horus Heresy. And Ned was instrumental in helping me unpack the new edition. Essentially, as I was getting books in the mail and just like, how does this all work together? I sat down with a buddy and we figured it out. We put together a little discussion regarding some of the legions. We're going to be splitting the content between our two channels. Just I want to support Ned as much as I can. And so today we're going to be talking about the Sons of Horus, but we're actually simultaneously recording another video about the Night Lords, which you'll be able to grab from him. This will be an almost entirely audio experience. And so go ahead, sit back, drag out your models and paintbrushes. Let's hang out and talk about Horus Heresy 3rd Edition for the Sons of Horus. All right, I am here with my good buddy Ned from Ineptus Astartes. How you doing, man?
Hey, good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, please. If you want to see more conversation, we just paradoxically finished recording our second episode, which you can go listen to on an episode of Astartes talking about the Night Lords. Same format, but today we're talking Sons of Horus, my personal legion, and overall poster boys of the bad boys, I guess, in a sense. They named the whole heresy after us. It's cool. Ned, did you ever play Sons of Horus? Did you ever have a collection of them?
I never did, but I thought about it,
Yeah.
mostly because in my little group, primarily, I kind of felt like we needed someone to play it
Hmm.
because they're kind of essential to the narrative. But we had somebody else who wanted to do it more, and my first army was Iron Warriors, but I've always appreciated the Sons of
Nice.
Horus, especially for their the importance that they have to the story of the heresy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we'll kick it off with a short lore foundation in case anyone who doesn't know who they are. Sons of Horus, the 16th Legion. They are the legion of the titular Horus, who led the Horus Heresy. So they are kind of the first among bad equals, I suppose is probably a good way to say it. Their core themes are like shock assaults, the idea of like arrogance, brotherhood, domination. The origins of a lot of the non-Terran born Sons of Horus are like hive world gangs, and it's pretty gnarly the way it was described, their upbringing. And so that's kind of cross translated to these little packs of brotherhood who are all trying to show off how great they are to one another and all this kind of thing. On the battlefield, it's a lot of highly aggressive, like I said, shock assault, jump packs coming in real hard, real fast. It's all about hitting the enemy when they are off kilter and not letting up for a second. So,
I mean, in the story,
yeah,
they talk about it that Horus's forces, the Sons of Horus, they are the tip of the spear. They
yes,
are the point that drives in, and the decapitation strike. They're all of those things, and that sort of, like you said, that hit him hard, hit him fast is a fun mentality to plan around and play with as well.
yes, yes. And can you explain to us how did that manifest in the last edition, as far as rules go?
Yeah, so last edition, the way this worked is the Legion traits, which we'll get to in a second,
Hmm.
have changed. But in last edition, the first round of combat weapons targeting Sons of Horus models were at a -1 strength. And so one of the things that meant is that, especially because in last edition we still had instant death, that meant that some of your forces were very protected in the first round of combat from high-powered attacks that would normally kill them outright,
Yep.
and that your general rank and file troops were just considerably more survivable. And so, if you were able to deliver the knockout blow in one turn, more of your troops were more likely to survive for the next round of combat, for the next unit you're going to assault, for the next
Yep.
wave of the enemy that you want to destroy.
Absolutely. And I adore that rule. I'm not going to lie. That was one of my absolute favorite things.
It
Um,
is it is a bit of a bummer that it's gone. I'll
yes.
say
And
that.
so we'll pivot. I wanted to have you do that because I'm going to be talking for a little while regarding
Yeah.
the current rights of war. So for heresy players coming from second into third, instead of rights of war kind of being about your army construction, now they are just a synonymous term with your army rules. So your legion traits. The big one for the Sons of Horus is called Death Dealers. Sons of Horus make volley attacks at their full ballistic skill instead of snapshots. So, what that means for us, the most prevalent version of that that's going to matter is when you are about to charge somebody in the new edition, you have a chance to fire your pistols into them before you do at snapshots. But we get to do it at full ballistic skill, which is it's nice. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, unfortunately, at least as far as what we've been able to discover so far, in order to volley fire at the full ballistic skill, you need to have the assault trait on your weapons.
Yes.
And all we've found so far is pistols, correct?
I think there's a few other odds and ends hidden around, but those, I mean, as
Okay.
far as the things that your most Marines are going to have access to, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing there is, I mean, like, obviously not snap firing greatly increases your accuracy and the likelihood that you're going to cause wounds, but the weapons aren't necessarily like crazy powerful per
Mm-hmm.
se. Um, so this is really going to come mostly into effect on models like Reavers, which you can swap your pistols for other more interesting pistols and
Yes.
weapons. And so it's definitely going to matter for a couple of units, but it's not going to be as universally applicable or interesting as
Yep.
it was last edition.
So pour one out for the old Legion rules. We'll miss you. Um, I feel like they could have translated really well into this edition, but that's okay. It's okay. We'll mourn the
Oh,
loss later. In addition,
the
yeah.
one thing to note about that is that with the change, I mean, they could have done something more similar with the change to or the loss of instant death.
Mm-hmm.
It, I mean, like I guess I can see, well, it's not as powerful. The other thing is that Death Dealers, this version is going back more towards their first edition rules.
Gotcha.
Because the second edition rules were a great departure. Because before, within 12 inches, they got a +1 ballistic skill when
Interesting.
firing like bolters and assault weapons. So
Okay.
it's kind of like the same thing, but it's very different as well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to hone in on exactly what they think the Sons of Horus want to be.
Yeah, and
So
I will put a note here. It doesn't actually what in this edition there's like a synopsis written out and then there's the full details of the rule. The full details are when it makes a volley attack, it's full ballistic skill instead of snapshot. So it's not just when we're charging, that's just the biggest example of it, I
oh,
think. But it's
that's true.
literally
Yep.
any time that you would be making a volley attack. So as I haven't checked the details of the minutia of other rules like what is it the you get to shoot at people who deep strike in that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Interceptor and yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's very clear that like any time that you would shoot snapshots, it's full ballistic skill. That's all.
Yeah.
Kind of future
Yep.
proofing us because someone's going to be like, you missed this totally awesome thing that it does.
The mountain of things we're going to get wrong today. I'm very excited to see all the
Yep.
mistakes.
Yep. It's going to be great. Pin your favorite one to
Yeah.
the top and I'll put it up there.
Right.
Gambit. Every Legion has one of these. This is what your rock, paper, scissors you get to pull whenever you're doing a challenge with your heroes. And this one is Merciless Strike. When this gambit's selected, the controlling player's model gains the Phage T special rule. So that's for toughness. Let me just double check what Phage is. I always forget. Because I am terrible at that word for some reason. Unsaved wounds with the Phage toughness, in this case, special rule, reduce the characteristic by 1. So every time he hits somebody, they're going to be reducing their toughness by 1. Thoughts on that? I don't really have. I mean,
So it does it. It can only be applied once, probably per round. I would imagine.
I would imagine it, so. It's the controlling player's model. Let's see. This gambit can only be selected in the first face-off step of a challenge involving this model, and
Mhm.
while it's selected, oh, weapons this model uses gain the Phage T special rule for the duration. Okay, so yeah, I
So
guess. Go ahead.
one of the things is that a change this edition is that challenges can last, right?
Yes.
And they repeat even in the same technical turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can decide for it to go on, and that way, a challenge isn't just one swing versus your swing, and then wait until next turn to see what happens. So in that case, like if you are deploying this and using it to lessen your opponent's toughness, then you're just going to wound more easily if there's a subsequent round of the challenge,
Yes.
which thematically I think is cool.
Yeah.
Um, practically, I'm not really sure yet how much it's going to matter, because if they kill you with a thunderhammer or a headsman's axe, mustache wrinkle here, then like it won't matter that your toughness is temporarily reduced.
Yeah.
But it's still a cool idea. So,
Yes. I'm also interested to see how it'll affect things like with the Night Lord's rule where they can swap people out. Like, is it applying it to the unit, or is it just some random schmo has -1 toughness? I'm curious.
yeah,
Um,
I
I
think I think this gambit might actually be applied more in like sergeant to sergeant level combat if you're not
oh,
dealing with like
that's
the
a really good
best
point.
weapons.
That's a really good point because it does give them an
So
edge
like,
because it would incentivize me if it's just schmo versus schmo to keep the combat going. If I know that this round I will be able to get additional hits in because your toughness is down, right?
yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Anyway,
It's fine. Yeah.
I mean, it is anything that like affects rules like that. Because remember, this could also be Sergeant number 4 versus Sergeant number 3, or it could be
Mhm.
Horus versus Karn or something like that, where those things are going to matter.
Yeah.
um,
Right.
so we'll put a pin in that. Next
Yeah.
thing I have here is their advanced reaction, which is Warrior Pride. Now I'm going to warn you, when I first read this, I thought it was really stupid. And then I thought about it some more and I've really come around. So
Mhm.
that's your mental preparation. This reaction allows a reacting unit to ignore challenges from an opponent with a lower weapon skill characteristic. Now, what are your initial thoughts?
So, and again, thinking, and I don't have context,
Yep.
but thinking back to second edition, one of the best ways to trap somebody, especially like a Primarch,
Yeah.
if you could get a Primarch, or what was the other one? Oh, Demon Sovereigns, for
Mm,
example, were models that you could trap in a challenge, and that you could just kill one guy a turn while the rest of the squad gets free reign to just beat down on the Demon Sovereign. Um, so if your super killy Horus is able to only kill one model, sure, you're going to add a ton to the combat resolution,
yeah.
but if you still are locked into combat, then you're getting free swings on the
Exactly.
big bad. This rule allows you to avoid that trap,
Yes.
which is good.
It is. So once you explain that to me, I was like, you know what? That's actually awesome because that means my hyper killy heroes can then dip into the unit and be hyper killy, right? That's the
Yeah,
idea because they're not
because
tied to
otherwise
me.
your option, right, is to just not have them fight,
Yep.
or at least that wasn't in second edition. I can't remember if it's changed this edition, but there's a penalty for declining a challenge.
Yes.
And now you have, now Night Lords have their own way of getting out of this problem.
Hmm.
But
The reason I said I didn't like it when I first read it is like no one gets medals for not winning fights. You know what I mean? Where it's like your special rule is you don't
yeah,
have to play the game. Cool.
right,
Like
right.
that's how it read at first. But when you explained it to me, like, oh, this means my heroes can do the things I wanted them to do to units. That completely
Yeah.
recontextualized it for me. So
Yeah, it gives you have more autonomy and choice over where your dice go, which is
yes,
good, generally
it
speaking.
is. It
Is
is so good.
Mhm.
It was just a kind of a form of sticker shock.
Right.
So we'll hop over to the Armory of the Sons of Horus. Now, famously, as far as I know, in all the editions, they have always had Bane Strike bolters, which are
Mhm.
just their unique variant. In this edition, you lose 6 inches of range from a normal bolter, so they're 18 instead of 24. And in addition, to offset that, you gain breaching 6 up, which means on a wound of a
Mhm.
6, they are resolved at AP 2.
Which is pretty much identical from last edition.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. They're interesting. I kind of see them as a side grade, but a flavorful one. So I like them. I take them.
Mhm.
I don't see them. Do you see them as particularly like head and shoulders above bolters?
Being able to breach at all is good.
Yeah.
Are they still strength 5? Or are they no longer strength 5?
Nope. They are now strength 4.
That's bad.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
um,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
that's bad.
Before they used to be a little bit better, but the range was a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna want to be close anyway. So they're fine. They're not particularly better. The breakdown on what breaching 6 actually does for your damage output is like a little. If you mass enough of them, it's going to. I mean, it will greatly decrease the amount of saves that are made, obviously,
Sure.
because you can't make those saves. It really depends on how much points they actually are. So I think they're probably baked into like some of your Terminators.
Hmm.
Um, so like it's fine if it's not too many points. If it's like a couple point upgrade, then it's probably still better mathematically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Oh, fun fact. I didn't even see this before. Any model in a Seeker squad can take a Bane Strike Bolter for free, but I would not
Yeah.
give up the base weapon that they have.
Yeah, the base weapon this edition is really good. So, and that I think they've been able to do that in the past. So that's a holdover, which is good if you had Seekers with Bane Strikes before. Great, you can still use those models. But
Sure.
yeah, the Seeker gun is even better this edition, I think.
Yep. And I was going to skip the same thing for the Bane Strike Combi Bolter.
Mhm.
There is a pintle mounted version. Same thing. A little bit less range. Gain breaching 6
Mhm.
up. There's also the Carsoran Power Axes, which are initiative. So the Power Axe, and then there's also the Power Tabber. Is that how you pronounce that?
I think it's Tabar, but I don't.
Tabar. There we go.
Tabar.
The Power Axe is initiative modifier -1. Same attack value. Strength +1. AP3, damage 1. It is breaching on a 5 up, shred on a 6. And so this edition, that means for every 5 up is going to be resolved at AP2, and every 6 is going to be have those things and +1 damage. Sorry.
So
Um,
definably, the shred is what makes it better than a regular power axe.
yes, yeah,
So that's the difference.
that's definitely your big one right there. That's what you're looking for when it comes to winning.
Mhm.
Let's see, and then the tabber
Mhm.
is initiative -2. Same number of attacks as your unit, +2 to your strength, AP3, damage 1, and this is breaching and shred, but both of them on a 5 instead of one being on a 5 and a 6, which is
So
good.
it is good. It's interesting because they used to be breaching 4 up.
Okay.
And realistically, so in the last edition when they were breaching 4 up, most of the time you were going to wound on a 3 or a 4 up. So most of the time that you wounded, they were AP2. They used to be two-handed, but they're not anymore. I don't think we have two-handed weapons anymore,
I
right?
don't believe so, no.
Um, so this is good. The fact that it breaches on a 2 and then adds 2 damage, the biggest thing I think for me would be to see how much this costs
Mhm.
and then who has access to it. So do all Sons of Horus just get access to this? Or does it need to be sergeants, or it doesn't need to be?
Yeah, let's see. Any model with the Sons of Horus trait may have its power axe exchanged. Yeah, for +5
Okay,
points. So yeah,
so it's an additional +5 points, but
and
anybody who can take an axe can take one of these.
yep, and +10 points for the tabber.
Oh, it is 10 for the okay.
I know,
That
right?
makes it pretty expensive. I'm not sure. I'd have to take a look at it. I'm not sure that makes it better than a Thunderhammer or a Power Fist or something
That
else.
was kind of my thought too. I mean, I don't even really know what a Carcerid Power tabber is supposed to look like, so like I'm fine with just saying it's whatever. But even then, I'm looking at them like, well, I mean, even as far as modeling goes, I don't know, man. Thunderhammer,
They
pretty
they
awesome.
made models. They made models for it. You can buy them. The power to bars.
Okay.
Um, but and they're just like big long axes. That kind of what they look like.
Oh, okay. Now I can envision it.
Yeah,
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Um, they're cool, and it's a unique flavor. Um, you can get these. You have access to them when you wouldn't otherwise have access to the equivalent weapons. So
Yeah,
models that wouldn't be able to get a Thunderhammer can take one of these. So depending
that's
on what
true.
you really need, you know,
That's an
I think
interesting
that's it. I
idea.
think
Yeah.
it's always as you're looking because they're changing the way wargear works for so these legions. They basically, if you're an old person like me, um, in the early editions of Warhammer 40K, they would just have like these boxes, and it's just like, this is the table of weapons that a sergeant can have, or this is the table of weapons that a captain can have. And they've gone back to that. So as opposed to a lot of individuality being in the squads, you're just referring back to the table. So like you said, if there's times when a unit that wouldn't be able to get access to a Thunderhammer can have access to this other weapon, then it's at least worth looking at if you really need that extra punch and power. So
that's a use I didn't even consider, that they both fill that same slot, so that would give access to a Thunderhammer equivalent to something you shouldn't.
yeah,
Cool. Okay.
a roughly Thunderhammer equivalent.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, at least the power tab, or at least in my mind, that raises the value of that a little bit, because being somewhere where you're not normally it's cool. Okay.
Yeah. And those can go, because like the spoilers, you can put random power weapons into a despoiler squad,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
So you can throw a couple of these into a big despoiler squad and have some surprise damage that pops in from that. Something like that.
That's a great
if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Next up for within the armory section is martial supremacy. Every legion has their own prime advantage. So if you fill a prime slot, it meets the requirements. This is an upgrade you can take for free. Ours is martial supremacy. One model in this unit selected to fill a prime force organization slot gains the champion subtype and the duelist edge 1 special rule. So you take a basic unit, and it has to be a, let's see, if a model includes Sons of Horus trait and the elite battlefield role, which I did not see before. So an elite unit, you pick a random guy, they get upgraded to being a champion. And duelist's edge, whenever you go to do challenges, you're going to roll a die, that's your focus roll, and add that to your initiative after all the modifiers from your weapons and stuff. That determines who goes first in the combat. So this is a modifier to that roll. And that's it. So
that's fun though, because
it is.
You're really now at this point, again, because you're a champion, now you get access to the more diverse options of wargear.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can add extra mini special characters into some of those units. Yep. So having effectively 2 sergeants, or a sergeant and a built-in champion in your squad of, I don't know, veterans, or your squad of cataphracti terminators, or whatever the heck it is, is a cool thing, you know?
I agree. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, that combined with the gambit that lets that 2 vanilla sergeants now have a much more interesting combat.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, this makes sense because, as we'll talk about over here, when you're yadaing through the dozens of entries that you have, the Sons of Horus are they have a lot of notable characters.
They do.
And this specifically encourages you Sons of Horus players to make your own. Like, I want you to name these sergeants. I want you to name these extra champions. Like, you should do that. You should. And if we see you at Adepticon, I want you to tell me about them. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is cool. This is establishing and building on that idea of lore first in Horus Heresy, which I love to death.
Yeah. No, absolutely. One of the things that didn't grip me when the first time I read this is that if it has the champion subtype, then the sheer amount of weapons and upgrades that it unlocks for it is quite good. Mm-hmm. So
they can look. I mean, you're gonna have so many more uniquely designed models for, you know what I mean? Like, it'll just look cool.
It pays to be a poster boy. Yeah.
It does pay to be the poster boy. Yeah.
Every Ultramarine player can tell you that.
Yeah, right. There you go.
There's also a section here in the armory called Decurion Lanius. This is basically how you can upgrade your vehicles, or some of them, with Bane Strike pintle-mounted stuff that I talked about earlier. You can upgrade a Predator, a Kratos assault tank, and a Sakaran. When you do, not only do you get the pintle-mounted Bane Strike bolt cannon, which is breaching on a 6-up, stuff like we talked about before, you also gain the rule Brutal Enforcement, which turns those vehicles into commissars. What do I mean by that? A model with this special rule may target a friendly unit with a shooting attack, and the targeted unit loses the routed tactical status, which is incredible.
You know, If we ever play Night Lords versus versus Sons of Horus, it's a great way to counter some of
Yeah,
the Night
man.
Lord status shenanigans. Like, oh well, I'm gonna shoot my guys too.
We're running
So
away.
they're
The
fine with
hell you are. Oh, I love it. So that actually made me really happy. Not that I'm
yeah,
looking forward to shooting my own guys, but let's be honest, it makes you a little
I'm
looking
definitely
forward to it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Let's see. So that's it for those. One thing to touch on here is their detachment. We only get one, unfortunately. Um, and that is the supremacy cadre, but it is cool. So this is two troop choices. Both of them are prime slots, so free upgrades, and then a heavy assault and an elite choice. So thematically, that's going to be your Reavers and your Justaran Terminators.
Mhm.
And this edition, I always want to highlight this because it's a very different way of thinking. Detachments are really just permission to bring the toys you want. We're not looking at these for any kind of special rules. So,
You
um,
are losing the flavor this edition. Like Rights of War as they existed are no more.
yes.
Um, and so you're going to have to find creative ways with the detachments to try to replace some of that.
Yep.
Um, pour one. We've already poured one out for something else, I think, but let's pour another one out for the Rights of War.
Yeah. Oh,
Anyway.
this minus strength modifier when you get
Oh yeah,
some of
yeah,
that.
yep.
So, yep,
Yeah,
it's a but that affects everybody. We're all grieving together on that one with the rights of war
yeah.
thing. Uh, but I like it. I like the rules that we have for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's cool about that detachment though, the supremacy cadre, is I've actually used that in my own personal list building just on this end before the game is fully launched because I find it really easy to just use logistical benefit on one of those prime slots, throw in a Spartan, and now my Just Aaron have a ride. So I like that quite a bit. Having the prime
Mm-hmm.
slots there is really a big deal. Okay, moving into the unit entries. The Sons of Horus are cursed slash blessed with a plethora of named characters, and the overwhelming majority of them are uh, slightly more flavorful versions of existing HQ or command choices with a special rule, and that's all I'm really going to highlight because
Okay.
we're going to be here forever. Horus
How many?
Lupercal.
Just can you tell me? Loken is in there. Abaddon is in there. Malagurst is in there.
Oh, and then we
Who else?
also have Ezekiel, Little Horus Axaman, Tybalt Mar,
Yeah,
Varen Ashuradon, and the Dark Emissary.
yeah. So Jesus, I mean, is that seven? Does
Something
that
like
count that right?
that, yeah.
It's a lot.
Well,
So,
and we have two Primarchs. We don't just have the one, which is fun.
oh right, right. That's true. I forget about that.
So yeah, there are two versions of Horus. We'll start with him. I'll give him a little more screen time because Horus is the man.
Mhm.
The first version buffs your army. The second version is all about Horus being a beatstick. Okay, it's the idea of early heresy and late heresy versions of him. The army buffing version is Horus Lupercal, um, and he has probably one of the weaker stat lines of a Primarch. He might be on par. Whatever. He has movement and weapon skill 8, ballistic skill 6. His leadership stuff is really, really high because he's the War Master. Of course, he is. Um, where he gets interesting to me personally is when you talk about his special rules that buff the army. So Primarch level combat is going to be what it is. Nobody else can face them except for maybe a Titan. But what he does for the army is he gives them an additional reaction point, which is huge. And several other Primarchs do that as well, but it's a notable thing. The other one is Sire of the Sons of Horus. So in your primary detachment, if you fill your troop slots, so you take 4 or more troop squads of either despoilers or tactical marines, then you gain this benefit. They're all considered prime slots, which is wonderful for all your upgrade purposes. And then, furthermore, the special rule you get is +1 to your move characteristic the first round of the game. So that's Tame Horus. Any thoughts on him?
I mean, I like that bonus. People overlook how good extra movement is.
Oh yeah.
because it's what allows you to set up so much of the rest of the game. Realistically, I always try to imagine that when I'm deploying on the field, um, my units are probably not going to move more than twice their maximum movement before getting chomped up in something. So
Right.
being able to get one additional inch at the start is great.
Yep. And
Um,
I want to clarify, it's everything that's not a vehicle gets the +1 to move. So
yeah, so that's really good.
yeah, it
That's
seems
really
cool.
good.
Uh,
Hmm.
his his baller version is when he goes off the handle. Horus ascended 850 points, so he's the prime guy.
Hmm.
He just becomes a monster. Basically, what really changes, he has the exact same weapons and junk, but all of his stats, instead of going from like 6s and 7s, go up to like weapon skill 9, and the rest of it's like 7s and 8s across the board. And what's unique to this version, he still gives you a reaction point. He can join units that have the Malefic subtype. So that's demons, right?
I think that's going to end up being a demon tag or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Um, and then, oh, the last thing, he can't be included in the same army as the other horse. So, yeah, army version, and then main character energy version. That's all there is.
Yeah, yeah.
Ezekiel Abaddon is a Terminator Lord. His special thing is that he gives the Justerians he's attached to Deep Strike because they don't have it natively anymore. Little Horus Axamund exists solely, in my opinion, for narrative games. If you are running an event, please, for the love of God, if you have two Sons of Horus players, just give them a Horus Axamund and a Garviel Loken for free, because they do nothing else outside of any other context and only exist to make things more fun. I'll just say
Okay, good.
that.
Okay, good.
Little Horus Axamund gets extra VP if he kills Garviel Loken in a challenge. And Garviel Loken is just, again, they're both kind of just middling heroes stat line wise. His big thing is that every time he would die, you roll a dice on a 4-up, he comes back with a wound. So
Does that happen as many times as it needs to, or is it just once?
as many times, anytime he goes to 0.
That's amazing.
Yes. So it could be really sad, or it could be hilarious to watch
Yeah,
the other guy
right.
struggle so hard. Anyway, so I'll just throw
Yeah.
those two out there.
Mhm.
Tybalt Mar is one of the named characters, and the only thing really notable about him is his weapon. This is a dude made for challenges in this edition.
Mhm.
Um, weapon skill 6, his weapon, the Culling Blade, poisoned on a 2-up, critical hit 6, breaching on a 5-up.
Yeah.
That's it's just mean. That's all there is to it.
Mhm.
Viren Ashuradon, he is essentially a middle of the road kind of lieutenant character, but he comes with his own Vexilla built in, so he can attach to units that wouldn't normally want
Okay.
one. And then last of the named one is Malagurs the Twisted.
My boy.
When, yeah, I like him a lot. So with his icon, whenever he's attached to a unit, whenever that unit would score points, they increase the number they would score by 1 from like line and vanguard. So if he's attached to a tactical squad who just sits on an objective, they get 1 extra VP for sitting on that objective. If he's with a vanguard unit, when they destroy an enemy on an objective, they get an additional 1, which is great. Um,
Yeah.
and his other special rule is interesting to me. The Malagur's controlling player can choose whether he is an eligible target in a challenge. So he can just Audi 5000. He's not even eligible to be chosen. So you can't take any negative modifiers if he refuses, because he's not refusing. So,
Right.
um, the Dark Emissary is our non-named hero command choice for 90 points, and Ned, I have spent an hour last night looking, and I don't understand why anyone would ever take this.
All right. This is my first time hearing about it in this edition, so let's talk through it. Let's figure it
Okay.
out.
So he's a normal, basically Centurion, 2-up, 5-up, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, whatever. The only thing special about him is his wargear, which is the Staff of Dark Authority. It's at initiative, same number of attacks as the unit, which is 4. Strength +1, so he's strength 5. AP 3, damage 1, critical hit on a 6-up. Cool.
Okay.
Special rules. If a model with this special rule joins a unit with a different faction trait, the leadership and cool characteristics of a model in that unit are not reduced. So typically, if I were to have him join a unit, that unit's mental stats would go down by 1, and this simply just doesn't do that. What I can't find out is why I would ever want to take him. I love the idea of no negative modifiers for taking him, but then he needs to be worth taking.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
yeah, I'm just struggling to understand why I would. So
we've not talked about. I think it's important to note for this video call
sure.
and for people listening that Games Workshop was very kind to send you.
Oh yeah, I forgot that
files.
part in this video. We recorded twice. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, and in honoring that, we are talking through these things, but I have not seen any of the rules.
Yeah.
In honoring that, so we have not had a chance to talk through everything. I guess my question would be, what does the ally matrix look like now? How do allies work? What are the other things? I mean, is it just including a Space Marine with a better mental stat line than other things? Does that matter? I guess I don't know.
Yeah. That is the stat where he kind of shines. He had leadership cool of 10.
Yeah.
So I love that. You know, maybe if I attached him to like a big blob of Imperial Guard guys, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
That
I
would
think
be
that
cool.
might be. I think that might be the sort of thing, because I mean,
Okay.
and again, we haven't looked at this, but in old editions, you needed to have a certain level of natural camaraderie with different forces.
Sure.
So you needed to be what was called sworn brothers in order for a Sons of Horus model to go in with something else, right? And so, like, Iron Warriors used to be able to just freely join in with Mechanicum units because they're so tight. Maybe that's different now, and so if you do join in, there's a negative modifier, and maybe this just helps negate that. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. You know, that idea just struck me as putting him with a giant blob of just schmoes from a different
Yeah.
faction. If I had a Titan and maybe like some kind of Mechanicus squad with him or something, that might be cool. Okay, I'm coming
Yeah.
around to it. But when I first read it, I was like, why would I put this guy with, for example, just picking out of the ether, Night Lords?
Yeah.
Why would they want them? They just take their own. They're way cooler.
I think so. Before, in the previous iteration, this guy basically was more or less for, excuse me, including alongside another allied detachment, and
Okay.
it had other benefits before, I think, with other Marines, but
Yeah.
this maybe is more clearly for human auxiliary or of some
Yeah.
kind. But I guess I don't know. We'll have to take a look at that. We'll get around to talking about allies and stuff like that. Maybe we'll have to remember to come back.
I've barely touched the Titan and the was Mechanicum and the other auxiliary book
Yeah,
just because
yep.
there's so much to cover. But I will say, now that I'm thinking about it, any of those things that require them to take tests, if they have any special rules, that would be really interesting because then you could just have a
Yeah.
guaranteed 10. So,
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
that's something to ponder. Uh,
Mhm.
then we get into the meat, which I think is the two main units, the Justarin and the Reaver Attack Squad. Justarin Terminators, 275 points for 5 of them. And there is no designated leader, which is why that prime slot where you can make one a champion is big.
Mhm.
6-inch move, weapon skill 5, which is great. Most Terminator or the standard Terminators are 4. Ballistic skill 4, toughness 5, wounds 2. They're 4 attacks base each.
Mhm.
Pretty good stats around the intelligence, stuff like that. I'm still kind of figuring those out. So, um, come with a Bane Strike Combi Bolter and a power weapon. And in addition to the normal Terminator armor rules, you have Vanguard 4. So when they destroy a unit on an objective, they get 4 victory points. So huge there. And any model in this unit may have its Bane Strike Combi Bolter exchanged for 1 Volkite Charger for free, or 1 item from the Legion Combi weapon list. And it can have its power weapon exchanged for Lightning Claws, Power Axes, Power Fist, Chain Fist, Thunder Hammers, They have an option for double lightning claw, and 1 in 5 models can take a heavy shooting weapon. So flamers, meltas, autocannon, blaster, that kind of thing. What are your
I
thoughts?
would highlight
Good.
I would highlight the 2 lightning claws.
Mm-hmm.
The stats. So basically, all of the melee weapons have changed this edition. Some of that has been teased already. One of the things to point out, and we'll need to talk about this with Reavers as well, is that there is a lot more gradient when you're looking at what to choose, because traditionally you either struck at initiative or at with an unwieldy weapon which struck last, right?
Yep.
So a lot of times the best weapons were all just at the end. We're throwing all of our dice at the end. Um, Now, power axes only have a -1 initiative.
Yes.
Thunder hammers have a -2. Power fists have a -3. So there's a lot of differentiation in how that
Mm-hmm.
goes.
Yeah, Paralightning Claw
Uh,
strikes at initiative at +2 attacks. Yep.
Yes, and that's the other thing too, is that I think charge bonuses are gone. I don't think you get a bonus to attacks for charging.
No,
Right?
that's largely been replaced by the impact, whatever
Yeah.
rule. Yeah.
So because of that, when you start seeing these stats, you might notice that a lot of these guys have more attacks than they used to, and that's, I
Mm-hmm.
think, just replacing that, which is cool. But they have the Justarin have what, 4 attacks apiece or 3 attacks apiece?
4.
So 4 attacks apiece, and if you give them 2 lightning claws, they have 6 attacks apiece. And lightning claws this edition, strike at initiative. They have rending 6 up and reaching 6 up.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a change to those things. What this means is that they're still AP3. Breaching 6 up means that if you roll a 6 to wound, it resolves at AP2, which is good.
Yes.
Rending means that if you roll a hit at 6, then it resolves or counts as a 6 on the wound roll as well. So if you're rolling 5 of these guys and they all have 6 attacks apiece, your 30 dice that you throw, mathematically speaking, all of the 6s that you get are auto wounds at AP2. And that's good.
Yeah.
So I really like the double lightning claw option for these guys. Partially because they strike an initiative, faster than everything else. Other times you would be tempted to bring like an axe or something because you'd get easier access to that AP2. Well, power axes aren't like that anymore. So it's not as much of a necessary thing
Mm-hmm.
or an automatic choice to go for the power axe. So
Yeah. No, I love it. I feel good. I have 10 just air and 5 with double lightning claws, and I feel good.
yeah.
um and oh yeah, I already mentioned the heavy weapon options. In general, I like them. I thought it was interesting to not have um deep strike anymore, which was a bummer. I'm going to be honest. But having a narrative option that injects that back in, and I mean, I'm somebody, I like Spartans anyway, so that's kind of how I envision this working.
The
Um,
other thing is that they changed. I think they're probably taking deep strike away in a lot of places,
yeah,
partially because you can't deep strike in mass anymore.
you cannot.
So if you had a bunch of, maybe we buried the lead with that one, but if you had a bunch of models with deep strike and you put them like, you might not, my understanding is that you can only do one a turn. And so you don't want a ton of things in deep strike because you can roll for one a turn to come in, and
Yep,
that's points that aren't on the table.
yep, yep. From the deep strike rule here, no more than one unit may attempt a deep strike in a given player turn. So,
So
um, that is a really good point, though, and so certainly that seems to be an across the board change, which is huge. I will throw a caveat there to people. There are 2 heroes that improve it, where you can come in starting round 1, and another hero where you can get the roll instead of a 3 up to a 2 up, but that's very specific.
mhm.
Um, yeah, so in general, I like the Justarin. I mean, forever, at least in the last edition, the weapon skill 5 was always their big selling point to me. When they got in, they did work, and I just don't see
Mhm.
that changing with this edition. Uh,
They're
Yeah.
also toughness 5, and having a 2+ armor save is even better this edition in close combat because it's a little bit harder to get that AP2 attack back at you because of power axes being nerfed.
Yeah.
So,
Good point.
yeah.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on to the Reaver Attack Squad, which is clocking in at 135 points for 5 dudes. This one does have a leader, though. There's the Chieftain and 4 Reavers with him. 22 points per model after that. Now, this is your elite infantry choice. So, movement 7, weapon skill 5. So, they are going to be pretty good. Other than that, they are essentially veteran Marines. So, wounds 2, 3 attacks, higher than base leadership and cool and stuff like that, but nothing really remarkable outside that. Where they are interesting is that they all come with chain axes and bolt pistols, and their special rules are precision 6 up, which means that every time you roll a 6 to hit, you get to decide where that wound is going to be allocated. Is that correct?
I think that's correct.
Yeah, I was making sure.
That's,
I always get the 2 hit and 2 wound mixed up, but I believe that's correct. Precision.
I think it's correct.
Yes, it is hit test. So that's wonderful. That is like melee sniping, so you can get rid of that apothecary or throw a few wounds on a hero, whatever you want to do.
And it also just says attack, so it's also for shooting with pistols, which that's
Yes.
important in a minute too.
Yep. Yeah, it is just straight hit test. So any kind of hit test. Okay. And then their other rule is going to be Vanguard 3. So again, when they destroy an enemy on an objective, you gain 3 victory points. Any model in this unit can have its chain axe exchanged for a chainsword for free or something from the sergeant melee list. You can get your pistol replaced with a fancy pistol, which is, we'll talk about that real good. And you can have a special weapon for every 1 in every 5. And yeah, the normal stuff of Vexilla and equipment stuff. So that's basically it for them. Personally, as someone who I loved my Reavers last edition, mainly because I built the Rite of War, the Black Reaving, that kind of like leans into them a bit. But I adore them, and I fully intend to play with them in this edition. I like 10-man squads of them. I would probably kit out a couple, assuming that like 3 or 4 are going to die on the way in, and deliver like maybe 5 that are like super brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as pistols go, let's take a look at that. So
there's a rich discussion to be had about these guys and their war gear.
Yeah, so part of it is their special rule of snapshots at full ballistic skill. So if you get them close enough to charge, the kinds of gross weapons you can bring to bear are actually quite interesting. Let's see, I'm pulling it up now. We have so we're looking for assault, right? Any kind of pistol.
Yep.
I mean, to start off, plasma pistols.
Yep.
Would just be
Ones
incredible.
Plasma pistols, hand flamers are assault weapons.
Yep.
Although they auto hit anyway, so that's less exciting, but still.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah. Oh wait, can you? We'd have to check to see if you can volley fire template weapons. I don't know. That'd be a question to ask.
Good question.
Because typically, like with stuff like that, it says like no blaster template, but I don't know. Regardless, plasma pistols for sure.
Yes, that's definitely going to be up there. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that really stands out. I mean, disintegrator pistols are great because they're AP3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you just want to kill something dead.
Absolutely.
Those are the big standouts to me. Is flamer stuff, which we kind of need to double check on, and then I don't think there is a melta pistol, is there? No.
I don't think it's standard. I think it's typically, that you can give them to Blood Angels. They were like a Blood Angel specific unit, but we've not looked at or talked about their rules, so I don't know.
But I mean, even if you just center the conversation around Volkite, plasma, and flame weapons, hand flamers, that's still a lot of variety to just tack onto a little unit of assault marines, essentially.
Well, and the fact that you're shooting at full ballistic skill, and the fact that on a 6 to hit, you can decide where those go.
Yes.
You can have a chance to pull dangerous opponents out of the combat before they get to go. And
Exactly.
one of the benefits always of ranged combat is that it is a chance to engage the enemy safely,
Yep.
typically, because you shoot and you in melee, if you're once you're in melee, you can be struck back, obviously. So
Yeah. So I rate them pretty high, and that's and that's
yeah,
really it for the Sons of Horus as far as the
yeah.
nitty gritty of the rules.
Um,
Um,
we
but
should talk about. Can we talk about the chain weapons though, real fast? Because I think that's important.
oh sure,
Um,
which ones?
so you come base with chain axes, and you can swap them for chain swords for free.
Hmm.
In this edition, chain axes. First of all, chain weapons have lost shred. Okay, you don't get to reroll wounds anymore.
Yep.
Chain axes have what, a +1 strength,
Yes.
and but they have a -1 initiative,
Yep.
which is huge. So
That's a good point.
if you the +1 strength becomes much better because you no longer have the ability to reroll those wounds and try to wound again. But the -1 initiative means that your reavers with those weapons are not going to be striking simultaneously. Now, there's all sorts of ways that you can, like, there are maybe weapons that could reduce or change initiative in combat. So the Night Lords really benefit from suppressing their opponents before they go in. There's no reason why Sons of Horus couldn't try to do the same thing to overcome this,
Yeah.
but it is not a guaranteed, like, an auto choice of a chain axe over a chain sword. Now there's definitely, you have to think about what you're fighting up against and whatever else. Now reavers are 2 wounds.
Yep.
They have weapon skill 5,
Yep.
so they're more survivable considerably than a standard marine. So it's probably a safe bet to put chain axes on all these guys and just try to tank a couple hits coming in, depending on what you're attacking.
Yeah.
Against, like, standard base marines, like tactical squads, despoiler squads, seekers, other things like that that aren't like elite level troops, it's definitely a safe target. But maybe you don't want your reavers to only punch down. Maybe you want them to punch up or punch at their level.
For
So
sure.
that's just things to think about.
No, I think that's a great observation, and I think maybe that's why I feel like the pistol freedom is a really good offset for some of the damage that's lost with that
Yeah.
chain axe change. So
Hmm.
um, it's just something to think about. I have mine models as chain axes because I think it's thematic. I'm not going to change them, but
Yeah.
that you are absolutely
If you're
correct.
if you're starting new or if you're going to add on, it's at least worth considering. Chain axes still are cool.
Yes.
So, like, I will never tell someone to not use chain axes,
I know.
but
Yeah. Can you
because
imagine?
it's an axe, it's a chain sword axe, it's a chainsaw axe. People, what else do you want? Um, but, like, I think it's just important to note because that's a very big shift from last edition.
Absolutely. Yep. I appreciate you throwing that out there. So I'm trying to think of the other. I probably would not give them any form of heavy weapon because I don't see the point in that. They seem to be really, really good at being an anti-marine variant.
Yeah,
Which is great. And honestly, anything less than Marines, like you're going against Mechanicum guys, they're going to get eaten alive.
and they still take. Can they still take, like, melta-guns and stuff?
Yeah. So 1 in every 5 is a special weapon.
Okay.
So yep.
I mean, you might consider that. I guess it really kind of depends on what you're seeing in your when you play around you. But,
Yeah.
like, one Melta gun in there, especially as good as Melta is against vehicles or just honestly infantry,
Mhm.
other elite infantry. Um, it's funny because Melta is a weapon that is designed to kill tanks, but it's also really good at killing Terminators.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
it's not something to ignore as an option,
Yeah.
especially if you're just looking for variety in your model pool.
And literally the only special weapon that does not benefit from precision 6 up is the flamer. So like
Right.
you know what I mean? I mean it's just good. No matter what you give them, it's always a little better than it would be on a tactical marine.
It is
Um
objectively funny to think about point blank firing a melted gun
yes.
into a sergeant's face, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, that's funny. Um,
Um, so as far as other
yeah.
stuff, this Legion doesn't have a design direction. For example, we just talked about Night Lords, where it's a lot about hitting your opponent when they're hit by a tactical status. This doesn't have anything where I feel bent or pushed to look at a certain aspect of the game to really build around.
Yeah.
They feel very generalists with and maybe
Mhm.
a light emphasis on cool challenges here and there.
Yeah.
Um, but I do. I mean, I like the thematic units that we have. I play a lot of them. That's why I brought the Black Reaving list in the last edition. Um, I'm excited to read the other books and see what the Dark Emissary brings to the table. But
Mhm.
overall, what are your thoughts of the Sons of Horus?
I think that the advantage, excuse me, the advantage that allows you to basically make a champion in a squad,
Mm-hmm.
that is the flavor that I would lean into if I was starting Sons of Horus.
Mm,
I don't necessarily know how good it is, but the idea of thinking about my army as an army of veterans and special characters, um, and unique characters is cool
yeah.
thematically. And that makes sense because they are the tip of the spear. They are the best of the best in the stories. They are one of the most successful legions before they turn traitor, and that's a cool idea to me. So I think that's the way I would look at it. I would look at as many times as I can using that prime advantage to add additional champion level characters to my squads just for modeling opportunities,
Mm,
the
hmm.
story opportunities, that sort of thing. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. No, I thoroughly agree. I felt the same way when we first got done discussing them. I went over and grabbed a commands box from my local
Yeah.
game store. I was just like, I
Yeah,
need cool
absolutely.
dudes.
Yes, no, 100%. And that's like if especially if you're just getting into this, like if you've been snared by like some of the lore and the stories, oh, which we need to talk about that. Um, if you've just
Yes.
been snared by that and you like the idea of like thinking about this as these individuals who are going through this insane galaxy level event, then this is a cool legion to sort of let the model express that.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. You're right. We actually, I forgot we did have a little section here with some other questions we wanted to talk about. Um, are Justarin still worth it in second edition? I would say if you are looking to build a first company and have Ezekiel Abaddon with you, yes. Emphatic yes. Like without hesitation. If you're someone who doesn't really like named characters, just know that there's going to be a tax of whatever you use to ferry them in. So,
Yeah.
because you don't want them
Um,
walking.
I'll say that my hot take, which will be disproved once I'm actually able to see all the rules, guaranteed, is that 2+ armor is really good this edition because you're losing a lot of AP2 in a lot of different places.
Yep.
Terminators, especially the Justarin being 5 toughness as well, they're definitely going to be more survivable.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that sort of list is worth.
Yep. And we have Vanguard 4 on ours, and some of the other Terminators cap out at 3, for
Mhm.
example. So that's really, I mean, I like the aggressiveness. I feel like that's where a lot of the flavor of that aggressive nature of warfare translated into the Vanguard role. We generally have one higher than the other specialty troops. So,
Mhm.
you know, winning is is on theme.
Yeah,
Um, how do you beat the Sons of Horus in the new edition? Charge us before we charge you. That sounds to be a pretty good I think. Other challenge shenanigans I think would be better beneficial to messing with our heroes. So, any other
I
thoughts on that one?
like. They're built to be elite, I
Yep.
think. And so giving outnumbering them will be kind of important. Making sure they don't get a chance to um, try to prevent them from getting to your most valuable units
Hmm.
until you're ready will be really important. So just screens and things like that.
Yep.
Um, Playing smart because that in the story the way they get in is that they strike with overwhelming force at a point and overwhelm. And I think that on the table you'll try to do something like that as well.
Sure.
So try to
And
make sure you have a balanced defense.
remember, if you're playing against a Sons of Horus character, you're not the only one trying to kill their models because if you give them the routed tactical status, they'll shoot their own guys to get them
That's right.
back into the battle.
You yeah, you need that must be a requirement in whatever list you build. I
Yep,
think. I think that's
exactly.
important. Yep. Mhm.
So, last question here. If you wanted to jump into the game with the Sons of Horus, where would you start with a reading list? I'll let you take it over here.
I think one of the things, the first three novels, I reread part of the first novel recently,
Hmm.
and some of it's aged a little bit. It seems a little silly. But the first three books of the Horus Heresy series are essentially about the events leading up to the Istvan III atrocity,
Yes.
where the heresy really kicks off. And that's great to get to know the character of the Luna Wolves, who then become the Sons of Horus.
Hmm.
Um, for late heresy stuff, I love the book Slaves to Darkness because it's a book that's all about the traitors and their infighting, and
Hmm.
it heavily features probably my favorite Sons of Horus character, Malagurst.
Hmm.
Um, so those are both things that I would. But I mean, like the Sons of Horus are in like a lot of the
Yeah,
books.
they are. We feature
A lot.
prominently.
They
Um,
do. So there's lots of places for you to look.
I agree with Slaves to Darkness as a recommendation. We did a review of it here on 2 Plus Stuff um, with our Emperor Protect series. Wonderful book. Malagurst is, I felt, translated pretty well, I think. Um, the other book that I threw out there, and I got this just because I was bored one weekend. Chthonia's Reckoning is a collection of short stories uh, that is essentially regarding not only Chthоnia during the heresy, but also like the turmoil it finds itself as it's being scoured by the Imperial fists and all kinds of stuff. So there's just warfare from different points. One of them's like a space battle that was better than I expected because I don't generally like void warfare stories, but they
Mm.
did good. And then like gang warfare underground. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
um, let's see. We already talked about the detachment. The real thing there is just that you can add a Spartan to give your guys a ride. And we also did you design a character for the Sons of Horus as well?
I did not.
Okay, that's
I did
cool.
not.
We did this thing for the Night Lords where we both designed a character. I made one for the Sons of Horus. And this is just to give you an idea of how to use some of their cool abilities in a practical sense, right? So, what that would look like. So, my character for this that I created is Pack Lord Axius Cull. And I used the Herald entry um, on the what do you call it? What do you call it? Profile? There we go.
Yeah.
Dead entry. And I gave him a Courser and Power Axe just because we have them, like we talked about before. It's kind of a side grade,
Yeah.
but it's cool. Um, for the gambits here that are important, Furia Blows and Guard Up are both really cool. The result of this, of having the Herald specifically, is I didn't want to do a Legion champion because our gambit is, or our reaction is being able to ignore challenges, and the Legion champion has to challenge people if he can. And so it's just
Oh,
like even if there's a rules discrepancy, I'm like thematically it doesn't work. So
that's true.
yeah, I took that off the table. Um, the Herald can take power weapons, and with the -1 toughness to Gambit, basically he can start to hurt people on a 2-up pretty consistently at that point. If you continue the round of combat. The Herald is interesting because every time he partakes in combat or wins a challenge, you get an honor point, and at the end of the game, you pick one of your Heralds that's still alive that has the most honor points, and those get turned into VP, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Um, I see him running with a pack of Reavers. They go straight for the throat, which includes sniping out enemy leaders in combat. The idea being, hopefully, someone can get into the challenge before, so the Herald doesn't have to fight himself necessarily.
Mhm.
But he's still in combats, being aggressive, getting all those victory points. So
Yeah.
at that point, I
And
do think. Good.
I'm just gonna say, I want to point something out about this. This is we plan on doing this, making one of these sergeant or champion level characters for every legion that we review. And I don't remember if we said it yet here in this video, but our plan right now is to do it for all the legions. We'll see how we feel
Yeah.
after a couple rounds of it. But this section in particular, This section in particular is about designing a character that feels thematic and fluffy and not necessarily the most powerful choice or option.
Oh, sure.
We are going to explore those powerful options and choices for other data points and entries and stuff like that, but sometimes it's just about the fun of the story because that's an important part of playing Horus Heresy is really leaning into the narrative.
Absolutely. And honestly, that's part of why I chose the Herald when I was thinking about making a squad
Yeah.
of Reavers, because it's like he wants to be in combats. He wants to be, guess what they want to do too.
Yeah. No,
So
it's a cool idea. I like that. I like that
yeah.
a lot.
And so what I'm imagining is the Reavers are probably going to charge up, maybe knock out a squad, maybe two if I'm lucky. And then if the
Mhm.
Herald's alive, I want to just hide him or something like that. Get those VP at the end of the game. You know what I mean? Have him just go
Yeah.
smash some stuff and then just crack a beer open.
Yep. And gloat in the
Yeah,
backfield.
which
Yep.
is pretty on point. So,
Yeah.
do you have any other thoughts you want to throw out there?
No, I mean, I do. The more through this discussion, I will say that at the start, I took a look at the Legion trait, and the change to the snapshot thing.
Yeah,
I was disappointed about that, and
I was.
I still miss the -1 strength because that was really good last edition. But
Yep.
the emphasis on character and it feels right for the Sons of Horus, and it feels like a lot of fun. And like I said, if you are coming to Adepticon next year, you're probably going to go, won't you, Doug? Probably.
Adepticon? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Show me your cool Sons of Horus champion. Find us at the Heresy tables, because it sounds like a fun thing, and it's really narrative, which again is one of the most important parts I think of Horus Heresy.
Yeah, absolutely. The only man, I need to come up with a scheme of like designating that this guy is a schmo that got elevated to being a champion versus like the sergeant of the same
Yeah,
list. I don't know. I got to come up with a scheme for that, but
something
we'll do
cool
something
on
for
the
that.
opposite shoulder guard or a knee
Yeah,
guard.
or like
Something.
maybe because they're honored, they get black armor instead of the green.
Oh yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll figure it out. Anyway, thank you so much, Ned, for hanging out with me. And guys, please go listen to and subscribe or follow to Ineptus Astartes, because Ned's good people, and we're going to be cracking into these. The information you get will probably improve as our access to the rules becomes much
Yes.
easier.
Yes.
So
Oh,
bear with us for these first ones, but we were really excited to talk about our personal legions that got us stoked. Me, Sons of Horus. For Ned right now, you can listen to our discussion on Night Lords, which I was also very hyped on, much more
mhm.
so than my own Legion's army rules. But it's neither here.
They're
Go ahead.
both of them we happened to pick, I think both of them have a lot of flavor that matches
Yeah,
the story, which I'm happy about that.
agreed. Agreed. And then we'll talk
Yeah.
about how OP the salamanders are next week. So
Oh, yes. Yes.
anyway, thank you
Okay.
all so much for hanging out with us and listening. I will catch you all in my next gaming video regarding Horus Heresy. Happy wargaming.